half a tilapia fish, a pretty big one, and some other stuff. I'm going to talk about the snake pit and songbird.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the top one is. Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
The bottom one will never be.
Oh, alas.
Who cares? But they were trying for something.
Yeah.
So guess I didn't really care for either of these movies, honestly. No, this one was an Academy Award winner of 1948.
Who's the guy with her?
Some guy.
Okay. Anyway,
Mark Stevens, maybe?
Wow, that's amazing. Someone I've never heard of, but I've heard of her.
I don't know. Or maybe Leo Genn? Or...
Wow. Don't recognize the name.
Honestly, I don't know.
That's why his name's not on the front cover.
I don't know which one was her husband and which one was the doctor or whatever. Don't really care.
It won an Academy Award in 1948, even before I was born.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
It's in black and white. If you don't like watching black and white movies, you won't like this. But it wouldn't have helped to be in color. It didn't matter.
Well, that's pretty sad.
No, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter. Right? Sometimes sometimes it's better to have black and white.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I always preferred black and white.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was probably enough of an innovation back then. Well, one of the things was color TV. It's amazing how quickly they got in the United States. At least some places by comparison. Here, we were up in Calgary. It wasn't as though we were up in the boonies in Alberta, or down in the boonies. But I can remember going to something like West Village Mall or something like that. And it was 1967 probably.
Oh yeah, they still had black and white TVs when I was little.
Yeah.
Because the TV that I got to use for my bedroom, it was a black and white TV. And
see,
that was when I was a teenager, right? And I thought, well, I'm pretty lucky to have a TV.
Yeah. Anyway, we didn't really have a TV that much worked at all. So I'd go there and hang around the mall. Yeah. And it's still there, you know.
How's the tilapia?
It's okay.
It smelled terrible.
I know.
Cooking it. I should have cooked that outside. That's a stinky fish. Yeah, I'm gonna have to turn the fan on to try to blow the stink out of my house.
Well, the dogs will be
dogs
will be luxurious.
Yeah. Well, they're probably really mad at me right now.
Oh, you poor thing. You're going to be mad at them when you get back. There will be revenge peeings and pooings.
I didn't feel like dissecting the whole thing to give them great bend to either. No. So I would have been gladly
willing to give up quite a bit of this. I'm not a fan of any sort of meat.
Yeah, well, I need you to build up your strength. We need to get out
this should
walking
help.
again.
I'm feeling a little bit better today. I'm not sure why that would be. Well,
anyway.
Maybe it's because I ate quite a bit yesterday. Lots and lots. Lots of this stuff. This has been waiting overnight for me.
Yeah.
And,
it can wait longer, too.
That's good.
To get the fish done.
You were saying it kind of went when it was...
Oh, yeah, the lid's down. It popped good and sealed. You can see it's down.
Yeah, I like that.
Anyway, so... Yeah, the story is, it's about mentally... mentally
disturbed people, right?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so it's about a women's center there. The women all have some problems, and she's dealing with some things, and not well. So
she's staying there, in other words. She doesn't work there?
No.
Oops,
she's getting some help. And a doctor does manage to help her. He gives her first some shock therapy and then some sort of serum of some sort. And, I don't know, but it helps her regress back into things, events that she can't remember. You know, she doesn't remember these things, and they're the reason that she has problems. So hopefully at the end you're kind of optimistic. You kind of think, okay, well, she can remember things now, so well, maybe she'll be okay.
Okay, so it wasn't, you know, like we're going to do some Freudian stuff on her and she's going to be better.
I don't know. I talked to her.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, there was a lot of that stupid stuff in the, well, frankly, pretty well all the 20th century. I'm afraid that there's a lot of it still going on. You know, Marxism, Freudianism. These are the things that are going to be the salvation of us all.
I don't know. I don't know what all they were doing, but honestly, it was pretty boring.
Yeah.
The acting, they did a good enough job, whatever. But it just, I don't know why. But a lot of the times, you know, I would see what was winning awards, and I growing up, and
I know.
Throughout my years, and I think, why in the world did they give this an award? You know,
it's like the reaction of the basketball players at the university, some of them, and one judo guy, when this was in co-ed, when you were saying you're not obeying the rules of soccer, and you know, by this point in time, I was playing Alberta Major League, played the Canadian Olympic team, played a North American Soccer League player, and held him off the score sheet.
But honestly, who's in the academy? Yeah. Who chooses these
Well, that's
things?
a good question.
Like,
nowadays, it's a bunch of men.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know who decides on who's going to win these awards. I mean, shouldn't they just look at, okay, well, what was the big box office seller, or what was the? They don't. Why don't I don't understand? Like,
they want the stuff that's supposed to be good. You know,
well, what they decide is
not big
good.
sellers.
But what about the consumer?
Well, this is a
Whatever
big issue
the consumer
nowadays. There's
chooses is good. Should
until recently, there were way more men than women, and it still would be. Anyway. These guys over at the university, they'd be playing intramural soccer, and they'd be playing soccer. They were basketball players. The one guy, the stupid guy that looked like the fourth stupidest Hansen brother, was well, he's on the Canadian Olympic team for judo, and they came out there, and the two worst players for the basketball team had played hockey up around Manton or something like that. So they'd made up they had the idea that they knew the rules of soccer. Say what? You know, the first time I ever played basketball, they were showing me up in Calgary, okay, you can run in the last little part. So what I did was, you know, I'd never practiced it. They had a great time laughing at me because I started running at the center court, doing a layup. And, yeah, it was funny. I never did that again. But these guys, they'd made up their mind, these basketball players and Olympic judo athletes, that they knew soccer better than me. And I'm telling you, I was a bad guy for saying that. They were making mistakes. So what would they do? Well, you can imagine what a judo guy would do to me. And then a couple of guys who were basketball players but had a background in hockey, they'd hit me and hit me and hit me again. One time the judo player hit me. I was accelerating. The guy couldn't really accelerate much of anything, but he met me and he's like, hey, you steroid user. Anyway, yeah, he was a steroid abuser, right? And wham, he hit me. You know, and all the guys for the jocks, they were, yeah! Hey, you know, in real life, what would happen is the referee would have practically choked on his whistle, trying to whistle, and he would have said, that's not obstruction. What you've done is a red card thing. Your team gets to play all the rest of the game
without you.
Without you.
Yeah.
So let's see how they're cheering for you. Oh, boy, no. Like the referees didn't know the game either. They were just a bunch of jocks too. And, yeah, cheer, hit him again, that sort of stuff. This guy would have weighed way over 200 pounds. And steroid abuser. Are you hearing? The guy with the glasses that looked like one of the stupid Hansen brother? There was another guy, our goaltender was going to, he'd get the ball, and what you're supposed to do to stop a goaltender from coming right out to the edge of the goal area is you go up and stand in front of his cage. And then you can't move. The goaltender can move one way or the other. If he can kick with either foot, he can kick left of you or right of you, but you got to stand still. Oh, this one guy, Nayland was his name. He really thought he was smart. I've made it so the goaltender can't punt. That's not the idea. The idea is to stop him from coming out. And so I was saying, you can't do that. Oh, yes, I can. Who are you? I'm on the basketball team. I'm not on the starters, but I know soccer better than you. It doesn't matter that you've played Alberta Major League. It doesn't matter that you've played Calgary Premier League. It doesn't matter that you played against the Canadian Olympic team. It doesn't matter if you've played against a professional called Victor Cadelia. I know better than you. I've never played soccer before, but I'm making up the rules as I go along. You hear me, Art Nayland?
All right.
And, they hit me. Boom, 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 boom.
So
you guys are a bunch of wussies. You guys were... There was one guy's like 6'8" or something like that. Boom. His idea of finishing a check in soccer, and there's no such thing, was to, first he thumped me to the ground, and then he put his, imagine, 6'8", he put his knee on me. That's called obstruction.
Getting cold.
Yeah, well, believe me, I'm getting hot under the collar. So are you listening to me, Rob Wilson? You stupid chimp. If you did that in real soccer, you'd have a red card, and all those guys say, look at that big stud. We got to play without him. Maybe that's a little bit better. Who knows? You were useless, you stupid dump. I'd love to play a little bit of ball hockey against you where you couldn't be throwing your body around. I'd run circles around you, you stupid chimp. And the guy who used to hang around behind him, he seemed nice enough. But, he was about my size, and he was always hanging around behind him. I hope you got a good whiff of that guy's butt, because you always seem to have your nose between his cheeks. Anyway, enough of that. Sorry about that, yeah.
I'm talking about Songbird now, which it says on the cover it's from the producer of The Purge in a Quiet Place. I have no idea why it's called Songbird. I would have liked to see a story about a songbird rather than this. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if the person who wrote the blurb on the back actually watched this movie. It said, in this terrifying thriller, a devastating pandemic ravages the world, and the United States is in its 4th year of lockdown. Infected Americans are ripped from their homes and forced into quarantine camps known as Q zones.
Ooh,
from which there's no escape.
So this is just like this year, right?
As a few brave souls fight back against the forces of oppression. Amid this dystopian landscape, a fearless courier, blah, 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 blah,
So
blah.
That was put out this year, right?
Yeah,
4th year of pandemic.
It was, so that's exactly what this is supposed to be.
Now, I don't know who the bad folks are supposed to be, but the real bad folks are the people who've just been...
spreading shit around?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I just swore on TV. I'm so sorry, folks.
It's a mild swear.
I guess it is. People probably don't even consider it a swear.
Well, it's best not to do it, but I do it every so occasionally.
But anyway.
I haven't set you a good example.
It's really boring. Demi Moore looked hot. She still looks beautiful. And
I've never liked her looks that much, but she's taking care of herself, is what you're saying.
That's good.
That's good.
And in this, she's married to, what's his name in that? He plays the
guy in the front?
No.
Different guy. Okay.
No, he's the guy with the beard and white hair that plays one of the big leaders in The Handmaid's Tale, the series right now.
Oh, well, you know,
I can't remember.
I've got to say, I've seen that one on in the background. You see how I lost control of my viewing facility there. It was borderline vomiting. No, it's not that bad, but that's an awful show as far as
But honestly, it's just like in this movie they were trying to say, okay, well, if you're around people who have this plague in this movie and you don't get it, then that means you're immune.
Wow,
that's what they're saying in this, which is interesting. Maybe it's unlike other plagues that we've known in recent times, where people who don't get it aren't immune, they're carriers. They're carriers of it, they're spreading it around.
Well, there we go. And the other thing is, sometimes you don't get it.
And yeah, sometimes you don't have the symptoms. In cases of other, I'm not naming any specific plagues that have plagued humanity in recent times.
No, we don't want to mention.
I wouldn't want to do that. But sometimes the evidence found that even people who had mild symptoms were then having a really a major increase in risk of heart attacks a year later.
Wow.
After just a mild little...
This is actually true.
Yeah. So it's good to actually look into reality rather than some crappy bottom of the stack movie that nobody should bother watching.
No. So people who watch movies for reality, when they're not documentaries, and read novels for reality, get a life.